All right, Metcalf 30 and 30, another one. We're going to Baylor. We're traveling down to Texas, and we're going to go to see the Baylor Bears and their talented freshman, Tounde Yessoufou. Tounde Yessoufou, really talented guard, one of the top, projected picks probably if you're looking top 5, top 10 player going into this year, a bucket-getting machine. Everyone's going to make the Anthony Edwards comparison, so be ready for it. So Tounde Yessoufou, listed by Baylor at 6'5", 215. Like I said, going to be a freshman this year. Unbelievable high school career. I believe he was California's all-time leading scorer. Is that correct? So pretty good one to put on your resume with all that talent. Per Max Preps, he averaged 28.1 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 3.4 steals. Yeah, these are fun, folks. Shooting splits of 56, 34, 70. He looks like Anthony Edwards, so I'm going to even say it again. We've seen him multiple times, Metcalf. There's so much talent. There's so much upside. There's so much joy and passion with Tounde playing basketball, but he's going to be a very fun evaluation this year because of the offensive weaponry and versatility. But let's take a step back so we can go forward. What gets you pumped about Tounde? What are you excited about? What do you need to see also this year, like just to keep the engines going? I'm all over the place. I'm too pumped. So talk to me about Tounde.
And this game always has been and always will be about getting buckets, and few in this class do it better than Tounde Yessoufou. And also, if you're looking for more of an in-depth written breakdown as well, go over to NoCeilingsNBA.com. Check out our preseason guide. It's up there. 60 prospects, all that good stuff. You'll find it. But he's an awesome, versatile, electric, powerful, dynamic scorer. And sometimes evaluations are that easy. And at a base level, that's what Yessoufou is. And the way that he can get to a shot at the rim, in the mid-range, from 3, on ball, off ball, it's really fun. It's really, 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 really fun. Now, the question is, what else is there? Can he just be more than a scorer? Because in high school, he really wasn't. The defense was a disaster. The playmaking was, let's go with inconsistent. But we're already seeing massive strides in his all-around game, whereas, when I dive through his film and you watch the high school stuff, you're like, what is this dude doing out there? Like, besides getting buckets, and it's not really anything. Then, I try and relive that week at Hoop Summit and seeing him in practice, seeing how coachable he was, seeing how passionate he was, seeing how much he wanted to learn and how much he was committing to both ends of the floor. It's like, oh my God, it's been 3 months and this dude has drastically reshaped his game and is trying to find different ways to impact winning. So that's really encouraging to me that he's already this dynamic of a scorer and potentially that raw in every other aspect of his game.
Look, we read off some impressive stats for high school, but it wasn't just 1 year. Like, he was doing this throughout his whole entire high school career. As a sophomore, he averaged 27.8 points, 10.7 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 3.7 steals per game. Yeah, when you watch the film, you leave yourself wanting more. But then, we got to see him at Hoop Summit, which a lot of these guys we're going to talk about in the next coming days. We saw all of them, or most of them, excuse me. We saw him there, and then I got to see him again, I want to say 5 or 6 months later at Formula Zero with Damian Lillard, and I was already like, okay, gosh, he still looks awesome. And then in that showing, I started to see more playmaking than I was normally familiar with. So it seems like a prospect that's trending up in the right time. Obviously, with college basketball around the corner. I think the biggest question is, how's it going to work with Baylor? We always say this. It's like Baylor always has some question marks. Keontae George, it was like, what's the backcourt going to look like with the role? Jacoby Walter, DJ Edgecombe last year, we were like, this could get weird if they're asking him to do too much. And then all of a sudden, they had some injuries, and VJ just started really cooking and looking like VJ. So going to be interesting for Tounde. I think that coaching staff does a great job of, holding their players accountable. So he's got to show something else. We know he can score, but he's got to show what else is going to develop, especially the defense for me. So if we're getting to improvement areas, is it all the defense for you? I know you mentioned a little bit of the playmaking, but give me your top wish list. If Tounde is going to be a top 5 player in this class, and we think he has that potential because of the frame, the offense, the athleticism, what do you need to see from him this year?
Yeah, I'm sorry to be a cliche of myself, but it's got to be the defense. I know more consistency with the outside shot would be great, but I don't really have that many concerns with the shot. I think when you factor in the versatility, the volume, the difficulty of his attempts in high school, the percentages make a little more sense and don't fully shine a light on his capabilities. Simplify the shot selection a little more, divert a little more energy to defense, and now we're talking about a really fun two-way guard. And we're already seeing, like, his defensive playmaking has always been good because he's that freakish of an athlete. It's just the consistency with rotations and communication and fundamentals. And at McDonald's, it looked better. At Hoop Summit, it looked better. At Formula Zero, it looked better. So he's already taking those strides in the right direction. And I'm sure there'll be some real low lows throughout the season. But I think he's going to be, throughout this process, I think he's going to be one of these guys that reminds me a lot of VJ Edgecombe last year, not as a player, but as a person. And something I had to keep reminding myself with VJ last year is like, man, I have a lot of nitpicks. Like, he doesn't really have a left hand. He's not playmaking. Like, do I buy the shot? Then it's like, all right, but do I buy the person? And I buy the person by, wanting to improve and having that work ethic and having those intangibles. And I get the exact same vibes with Tounde. So I think there's going to be a lot to nitpick. But then you also have to remember, it's like, all right, well, where was his game 6 months ago and 6 months before that? And are we seeing that rapid improvement? And now if we see him take a step back on the defensive end or with playmaking or shooting or whatever, then that's a different discussion. But I would be really surprised if that happens.
The upside's tremendous. I think this is a top 10 pick, even with those questions. Now, I think if we can, throughout the year, all of a sudden start to be like the two-way abilities coming alive, then you start getting into like Tounde could be a top 5 guy because he's got that talent. It's just the defense hasn't come along with it. Yes, he's going to have some really good stats from high school. And I think stats in high school defensively can always be a bit misleading. The film's going to show the real thing. So it's going to show early this year. We're going to find out with him playing in that conference. Baylor's going to be tested all the time because the roster might not be as heavy as some of the other teams, but they have talent. It's just what can Tounde show consistently, because that's why we're getting excited about him as a lottery pick, that because of the offense. But with this class, everyone's heard about Darren Peterson. You've heard about, Cam Boozer and AJ DeBenza. Who's next after that? And if Tounde could show the defense is coming and being legit, and he's a two-way guard at 6'5", 215 with that frame. He's 215. He looks 235 in person. He is muscle and ripped. It's so impressive. So if he can showcase everything's coming together, I think he could get into that top 5 conversation. But any last thoughts, or you just love Tounde?
It's tough not to love him. And I highly recommend, I'm assuming it's on YouTube or something somewhere, but I highly recommend people go look up his post-game interview from that Hoop Summit game, because he was emotional, and it is just a fraction of what we got to see from the person. Excuse me. And it's like, oh my God, this dude loves this stuff, and he cares so much about winning and improving and his teammates. And it's tough not to buy into that type of guy. So that's something I'm going to have to keep reminding myself. But if he really consistently locks in on the defensive end, like the one-on-one stuff and isolation, he was always fine with. But if the rotations are there, if he actually tracks his man when they relocate and doesn't just ball watch and totally loses track of what's happening on the play, it's going to be enough, because the scoring is so legit and so much fun that he has that number one scoring option upside. It's just, how else is he going to impact winning?
Hey, they're building a heck of a record when it comes to off-ball guards at Baylor. So it's going to be fun to see what they do with another talented player like Tounde. So, all right, another one down, folks. Tounde Yessoufou going to Baylor. 30 prospects in 30 days. This has been a joy to do with Metcalf. We're grinding. We're almost there. Like Metcalf said, go check out breaking news of No Ceilings NBA. We just launched our preseason draft guide with 60 in-depth breakdowns from our whole entire team. Pro comps, we call them chemistry. And we got pros and cons. If you want to get caught up on this, that's a good way. So go check out NoCeilingsNBA.com and then check out the YouTube channel. We've got, I think, 4 more, folks, 4 more videos. And that college basketball is going to be here, baby. It's so magical. Feels great. So thank you guys for all the positivity and the support. We appreciate it. We love you all. Take care.